All right, so I was sent a screener for Graveyard Shark. Now, I'm sent screeners all the time, and I don't review all of them. I sometimes just completely like look over them, and decide, no, I'm good. I click on it. I always click on them, and I look at the movie, and I'm just like, nah, I'm good. And I am a fan of shark movies, but I'm really not a fan of these like stupid shark movies like House Shark and Ghost Shark and Your Mom's a Shark and this kind of stuff. One of those titles is not real. The others are. I don't. Amityville Shark, Raiders of the Lost Shark. Those are real titles. I don't know. They don't hold really any appeal to me. The Sharknado movies really kind of set this into motion. There were movies before that, right? We had the Sharktopus movie. We had the Mega Shark versus Croczilla or whatever the hell, like 15 of those. We had the 3-headed shark attacks, 5-headed shark attacks, 800-headed shark attacks, right? Like we've seen tons of these. For some reason, this is a subgenre of horror that just seems to be endless. And I always avoid them. I did try to cover the Sharknado movies on the channel, and I think I got to the third one, and there's like 7 of them, somewhere in that area. And I don't know, I lost sight of it. I kind of wish I would have finished it just because I thought that would be fun for the channel. Like breaking down those kinds of movies is a good time. But I don't know. These movies never do anything for me. I think they're always so stupid. And I don't mean that like, yes, they're stupid. They're purposely stupid. But they're not stupid entertaining. They're just stupid. So this came on and the title was so silly. And typically this is something I would have avoided. But I watched it. I don't know what compelled me to say screw it. I'm going to throw it on. But last night, after I was video gaming, I was like, you know what? I have some time before bed. Kaylee's asleep. She would never watch this in a million years. And I threw it on, and I am... oh, man. I'm embarrassed to admit. I'm not really embarrassed. I don't give a fuck. I had a good time. This is a really entertaining, really, 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 really dumb movie. That's, of course, to be expected. I'm not telling you anything that you need to sit down to hear. None of you are shocked to find out that Graveyard Shark isn't some intellectual, film. So, but what's this about? Okay, there is this chick who is like a cryptid hunter. Something happened with her father when she was young, and so now she's dedicated to killing all monsters. And she's told about the Graveyard Shark, which has been killing people in the area. And so she's on the case. And she gets together with her assistant. And she teams up with this Graveyard Shark like support group for people who have witnessed him or have had people killed by him or survived him. And she works in tandem with them to take down the Graveyard Shark. Now, if the Graveyard Shark in this, funny enough, the thing I was like not all that big on, my biggest gripe with the film for sure, and this should not be any surprise for this because it is so low budget, the kills in this are awful. They're non-existent. It's just the Graveyard Shark comes up and he like puts his mouth on top of their shoulder or whatever, and then a bunch of blood sprays out. Blood is not gore to me. I like gore. There's some gore technically. It looks like intestines that are wrapped around parts of the body that shouldn't have like intestines coming out of them. I don't know, whatever. That stuff is silly. But yeah, the kills leave something to be desired, to say the least, and that was such a bummer. As far as the look of Graveyard Shark, it's more man than shark, for sure. And it's like a big costume, and they're not trying to hide the fact that he's like wearing a mask on top of like a bodysuit, which I found to be pretty funny. And the film never for 1 second takes itself seriously. I think that films like this, when they embrace what they are and just roll with it, and I find that to be much more entertaining than watching other movies like Crabs, which I actually somewhat enjoyed that too. But they like take themselves so much more seriously than you would ever expect them to, and you're kind of like, especially anything made in the UK, like the Humpty Dumpty movies or the Jack in the Box movies. Like those are like the Jack in the Box movies are like dead serious, and you're kind of like, really? Even though those movies are like sincere and like somewhat watchable and okay, it's kind of like, don't you think you should be having more fun with these? This movie is like nothing but them just trying to have as much fun as humanly possible. The movie has some gratuitous nudity. We see two chicks get naked and in sex scenes, and they really focus heavily on the nudity in that. So that's a plus for sure for freaking pervs like me, I guess. And there's just a lot of really fun character moments and humorous dialogue and humorous situations where there's kind of like this Captain Ahab type character and his backstory with how he's connected to it. And he's like he's supposed to be like the Quint of the movie, where he goes into the meeting and he's like on the chalkboard and kind of like, telling them about the shark and being the guy who warns them and like, get out of here. And like the stuff he's saying about warning the people that are like on the missing posters and all that stuff, I found him really funny. He's the funniest character in the movie for sure, and like pretty much everything he said to me was actually funny, so I was really having a good time with him. A lot of the dialogue is as corny, as stupid as possible, but I actually think there's a lot of like pretty funny, clever humor in here as well with the characters, and there's such a wide variety of characters. You've got like the stoner characters that are, rapping and talking about ice cream and all this stuff. Then you've got the Captain Ahab character who's got like the backstory and the connections to things. And then you've got our main character who has this history with her dad. And then you've got the model girl. And then you've got the doctor who brought them all together. And then you've got, a bunch of other characters as well. And they all bring their own brand of humor to it. It's all stupid. It's all completely dumb as fuck. But it's, admittedly entertaining and funny, and I can't admit that it wasn't. If you're the kind of person that, sticks your nose up at these kinds of movies, I'm kind of one of them. But if you're even slightly open to them and you liked something like we watched, like last year I watched Murder Size, and I was talking about how entertaining that was, especially the scene where the girl was trying to get people to look at her tits and was like threatening them if they didn't. That's like my favorite scene of last year. If you like a movie like that, I think you would like a movie like this, right? There's something about this that actually felt like the people that were on board with this actually like really like had a great time and were actually had some talent and humor to them that actually landed on screen. There's a good amount of it that's just fucking stupid. It really is, and I'm not going to say every part of this movie worked. There's definitely scenes where you just rolling your eyes and you're not laughing. But I laughed more than I didn't. I really just embraced the silliness. I really just rolled with it. I will say that the shark reminded me of that show Street Sharks back in the day. That's what he looked like. He looked like he was pulled right out of there. And the graveyard shark is not the only monster that we see in here. We actually see like a drug-induced sex scene that's really fucking silly. And then there's another reveal towards the end where we get the battle for the ages, which, this movie must have a fucking, I don't know what the budget is on this, but I would assume they spent the majority of the budget getting the look for the graveyard shark. But, man, this was just fun. I typically would shit on these types of movies, and I'm like, this is just not the kind of fun I'm into, and I would, totally diss these types of things. But I don't know. I'm more open to these than most, right? I still watch really stupid movies, and it could add to why, like, other movies. I watched M. Night Shyamalan's Trap right after this. Like, we finished this, and then I literally like drove out to see Trap, and people were shitting on M. Night Shyamalan's daughter's performance, and I was like, I just came out of this movie and was like, you think that's a bad performance? Like, I don't think you saw Graveyard Shark. the performances in this are purposely bad. Like there's even like an even more purposely bad moment in the movie where our main character is the hunter of the cryptids, and she's like put together a commercial in universe that she's like putting on the internet to have her hired to come out and solve your problems like the Ghostbusters. And it's like the Ghostbusters, right? Like in the Ghostbusters movies, the Ghostbusters commercials within the film are like really poorly acted and whatnot. It's a pretty classic trope in films. But like somehow she was able to elevate the level of bad acting to an even higher level of bad acting. Like the acting in this is atrocious. It's purposely atrocious. But then there's a scene where she's supposed to be that bad actor within the universe where people are just bad actors, but real. But then she has to be a bad actor to bad actors. And she even somehow elevated it to an even worse acting in those. So that's actually kind of impressive, to be honest. But yeah, the mermaid story with our captain character, the Quint Ahab character, ridiculous. Everything he says, the stuff that his grandma said to him, the stuff they say back and forth to each other. Goddamn, a lot of people are gonna hate me for this and be like, "This is such a dumbass movie. Why'd you recommend?" I'm not recommending this movie to anyone that doesn't love these types of really, really silly shark films that have purposely corny dialogue, purposely terrible acting, purposely, stupid ass plot lines that make zero sense. If you're into that kind of stuff at all, and you don't mind a movie that has like a $2 budget, doesn't care that the costumes are clearly costumes. You can even see like the zippers, and you can see the mask flaps, and you can see the skin from the characters underneath as they're like, their costumes come undone, and you can see like the whole zipper in the back open. If you don't care about any of that stuff, and you really just want to sit down and witness a whole mess of extremely juvenile humor, you might have a good time with this. If you aren't a fan of any of those things, then avoid this like the plague. But I had a good time with Graveyard Shark. I can't believe it. I really expected to throw this on for 10 minutes and shut it off and not even review it, not even tell the people I had no interest in it, just ignore the email. It was like, okay, like I tried, but no. But I can't believe I'm actually sitting here reviewing this. The only reason I would have reviewed this is if it was at least somewhat entertaining enough to get me through the whole thing. Right? I still might hate it. I still might be like, this was bad, but it was bad in a way enough for me to sit through it. Like, movies I shut off, oh boy. The level of bad a movie has to be for me to shut it off is pretty fucking impressive, honestly. Like, a movie has to try to be super bad. This one was fun. I had a good time. And when Kaylee was out here towards the end of it, because I finished it this morning, she came out, and I was like trying to get her a bit like, she was like walking by and she's like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "This is the Graveyard Shark, and here's what." And I was like gonna try to get to her to watch it with me because I wanted her to have her reaction to this, because she would have hated this. She would have been like, "This is terrible. I didn't think this was funny at all." Like, I already know what she was gonna say, and I thought that would be funny, a little, but I thought it'd be us together. I didn't know what to expect. But she was like walking in, and when I was like having to explain like what characters were and whatnot, like, she's like, "What is this?" And I'm like, "Oh, his backstory is this." And she's like, "What?" And I was like, yeah, good stuff. So I'm a fan. Graveyard Shark. There is a potential sequel. I feel it's not like overt, in your face in here, but they absolutely have a plot line in here that they set up. They do not focus on it at all, but it is an obvious way to have a Graveyard Shark 2. I would watch it. I would watch a sequel to Graveyard Shark if these people are involved. Give it to me. I can't believe I want a sequel to this fucking movie. All right, guys. I'll see you in the comments. Bye.